Hello guys, today we are going way back home. We are going to Africa, South Africa. Today we are going to be talking about a man named Moses Sithole. Moses is quite different from every other serial killer I've spoken about on my channel. This one is quite different. Why? Moses is very handsome. He was a very handsome young man. He was stylish. He was perfect. He was jovial around the neighborhood. Moses had access to nice cars and money. He was even called the ladies' man as of then. He ran an organization named Youth Against Human Abuse, and this organization was centered around children. It is said that occasionally David has reunited missing kids back to their parents. So yeah, he was well liked in his neighborhood. But you would think this man had everything going on well for him, right? That's not the case. Moses had a very disturbing and dark side to him. Now, Moses was born in the year 17th November 1964. He was bred by Simon and Sophia sithole. He was born in Vosoros, a township near Brodesburg, and this was one of the poorest parts in South Africa. Now, he was one of 5 kids. When he was 5, his father died. The mother, at that point, the mother was like, okay, I'm tired, I've given up. She decided to take her kids to the police station and abandon them. But before she abandoned them, she told her children, okay, don't tell the policemen I'm your mother. If they ask you who's your mom, say you don't know your mom. So she took them to the police station and abandoned them. And on getting there, the policemen asked the children, okay, where's your dad? Where's your mom? They said their dad was late. Their mom, they don't know. So they were termed orphans and they were put in an orphanage. Now, just 3 years, Moses didn't really stay in the orphanage for long. It was said that Moses ran away, left the orphanage, and went to stay with his elder brother named Patrick. Now, Patrick was living alone, one of his elder siblings. On Moses' account, Moses said he was maltreated in the orphanage. He was being abused. We don't really know if it's physical abuse or sexual abuse, but all we know is that Moses was maltreated and that was why he left the orphanage. Now, on getting to his brother's place, he was living there. Now, not too long, Patrick decided to move to Venda. We don't know, like probably for greener pastures or for work, but Patrick moved and left Moses at home all alone to take care of the home. And as Patrick left, it wasn't long. Guess what Moses did? Moses decided to sell Patrick's home without Patrick's permission. He sold his brother's home without his permission. And when the money ran out, he started doing menial jobs such as in farms, in gold mines, all surrounding Johannesburg. That was how Moses was getting by. Now, in the year 1987, Moses decided to have a fun habit. And guess what his fun habit was? Rape. He started raping a lot of young ladies from the age of 20 to 45, unemployed ladies. He was raping and raping. And all this while, he was still being friendly in his neighborhood. People still thought of him as this very nice, social, jovial, nice guy. He was raping the ladies. Then the following year, decided to date a girl, a 17-year-old. Now she's named Simbongile Nkose. Simbongile was a 17-year-old. Now that relationship didn't last too long because Moses was raping and maltreating this lady. Now the next year, he decided to rape a particular lady named Buyiswa Swakamisa. Buyiswa Swakamisa. After raping this particular lady, he warned her with a machete not to report or not to say anything about the incident. And after she left, months later, she saw Moses in front of her workplace, creepily stalking her. So she was scared and called the authorities. And the authorities came, they arrested Moses, put him at the back of the van, and also took Swakamisa and still kept her beside Moses. Very unprofessional. They put both of them together, and while they were driving to the station, guess what? In front of the police, Moses was cursing Swakamisa. He was insulting her. Literally, he told her, I wish I had killed you. And Swakamisa She must have been terrified, sitting beside her rapist and still hearing him wishing he had killed her. I could only imagine. But luckily for Swakamisa, Moses was sentenced 7 years in prison. He was sentenced 7 years in prison. Now, while still incarcerated, Moses met a lady named Martha. Now, how did he meet Martha? Martha went to the prison to visit a relative that was also in the same prison where Moses was, and boom, they fell in love. They started exchanging love letters, and all of that. A relationship was formed. Now, guess what? Moses didn't really spend 7 years in prison. Why? Because he was released on good behavior. I don't know why all these serial killers or such crimes, the men are always so manipulative and pretentious, because he was released 6 years, like a year earlier, and he was released on good behavior in the year 1993. Now, upon his release, he decided to stay. He moved in with Martha, with her parents, his girlfriend. And when they moved in, I don't really know if they got married. My sources doesn't really tell me that, but we know that they were living together. Then the next year, 1994, Martha got pregnant and she was 5 months gone. Now you would think Moses would chill after going to prison for rape and the rest. No, Moses decided to go full force, and when he was released, he decided to go proper. He wasn't only raping anymore, he decided to do something more. Now, in the year 1994, he lured an 18-year-old girl named Maria Monama. Now, Maria was looking for a job, and Moses, remember that organization I said earlier, the organization known as Youth Against Human Abuse or Centered Against Children Abuse? Yeah, that was a front, that was a scam. That was something Moses was using to lure ladies, lure people who are looking for jobs. So he was offering Maria a front desk position, be it a receptionist or a secretary, but he was like, "Oh, I have an organization, I'm looking for a secretary. Does anybody want to apply?" So Maria, an 18-year-old girl, applied, and on getting there, it took her to a different path. And Maria was, excuse me, sir, this place look isolated and all. Like, no, 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 this is a shortcut. This is a shortcut to my company that never actually exists. It takes her to a very isolated area and rapes her. And after raping her, he killed her. Now, several of his murders were done this way. They were all being lured using offering a job to these young ladies, and that was how he was getting these ladies. Now, after raping Maria, he killed her. After killing her, it didn't end there. He wrote 3 statements on her skin. The first one, literally, he wrote, "She a bitch." Beech, spelled that way, wrongly spelled though. He wrote that. Then the second statement he wrote on Maria's skin was, "I'm not fighting with you, please." Then the third message he wrote on her skin was, "We will stay here as long as you don't understand." Now, these messages were said to be sent to the police. It was a message he was trying to pass to the authorities. I don't know what message he's trying to send. But now, after doing all of that, he continued. Now, he was living in Pretoria, that is in Atteridgeville, with Martha. Now, 4 cases, 4 murders were found there. 2 were found in Boxburg, and 1 was found in Cleveland. These were all surrounding towns in South Africa. Moses was having the time of his life. So the murders were becoming rampant, and the people of South Africa were becoming scared for themselves. Now, every time Moses kills and rapes any lady, he imagines taking a revenge on Swakamisa. Remember, Swakamisa was the lady that reported him for rape, and I was sentenced 7 years in prison. Yeah, so every time he rapes a young lady, he kills them because he imagines taking a revenge on Swakamisa, because he felt that he wouldn't have gone to prison if he hadn't killed Swakamisa. If he had killed Swakamisa, he wouldn't have been in prison. So that's why he was taking a revenge. Sick, right? After which, this was going on and on. While still together with Martha being pregnant and all for him, Moses still had a mistress named Amanda Thete. Now, Amanda was found dead. Moses even attended a funeral. Now, it was confusing because most persons believed that Moses had killed Amanda, but it was found that the police found someone else entirely who was with Amanda's ATM. Now, this man was caught on the ATM video recorder while he was trying to use Amanda's credit card to withdraw some cash. And yes, the police caught up with David, and while they were pursuing him, they shot him because he was trying to escape. On getting him, he took the police to Amanda's mother site. So the police were like, "Oh, we finally gotten our man. We finally gotten our man." And this man was termed the ABC killer. Why was that? Because most of his murders were centered on Atteridgeville, Bergsburg, and Cleveland. ABC. So the police were like, "Okay, yes, we finally gotten our man." Shot him. Now getting him to the police, they kept getting to the station. They were interviewing him, and most of the evidence were not matching up at the time of the murder and where he was, where David Selepe was. It wasn't matching up, and that was where the police now, okay, there's someone out there. Now Moses, on the other hand, when he noticed that someone had taken a fall for him, his atrocities just multiplied. David was going at it. He was murdering and raping a lot of girls at that time. Now in 1995, Martha gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and after her birth, not long after that, she and Moses separated. Imagine being married to someone like this. He has a different character at home and an entirely different character outside. And believe me, guys, his neighborhood still saw him as this jovial saint. He was still carrying on with his old youth against human abuse, helping children and the all. So that aside, after she gave birth to the year 1995, Martha got separated from Moses, and Moses was became homeless. Remember, he moved in with Martha with her parents, so he didn't have a home. This is somebody that has been dressing nice, someone that is all flashy and flashy, but doesn't have a home for himself. Now, after him and Martha got separated, he became homeless and started staying in train stations, and the murders multiplied at that time. Now, in the year 1995, Moses decided that okay, his case is being well known because at a point, Nelson Mandela at the time, who was the president, made a TV appearance to actually beg the citizens to help to cooperate in catching this culprit, in helping cooperating in catching this murderer. So Moses at that time was feeling himself like this is the most wanted man in South Africa. He decided to call a newspaper named The Star. He called the newspaper, and when they picked up, they were like, "Okay, hello, who's on the line?" He said his name was Moses McGuiney, a wrong name. He said his name was Moses McGuiney, and this was how he replied: "This is the man who is most wanted, the most wanted man in the country." Imagine feeling himself for murder. And he's giving him details. He gave a lengthy interview that kept explaining why he hated women. He hated women. Why? Because he was falsely accused for rape and was sent to prison falsely, even though we know that he actually raped Swakamisa. But he said he hates women because he was falsely accused of rape and he was sent to prison falsely. And that he actually agreed to most of the murders, but there's a particular murder in Cleveland he denied having anything doing with that. He said, and that was a woman that was killed with a 2-year-old son. He said he loves children, that he doesn't kill children, so he didn't commit that murder. But the police were not having anything to, they were not believing any of that. They're like, okay, he was talking and talking, and after the whole call, the police decided to trace the number, and after which they traced it, it was traced to Sithole's sister, and that was he used the sister's number to call the newspaper people, and after which they decided to look at the brother. It matched every detail because when they were investigating, now the person who was in charge of this case was South African first profiler, Mickey, and he invited an retired FBI, Robert Russell. So both persons were in charge of this case. They were investigating thoroughly, and they found out that most of these women that went missing were women who were in search of jobs. And now, when they went to the families of these ladies, they told them that they spoke to a man. They described how the man was, and it had the same description with Sithole's brother. Imagine the sister, when they tracked the number to Sithole's sister, they checked the brother, and it was the same description. And that was when they knew, okay, this is our guy. It wasn't David Selepe. Say, okay, this is our guy. And they decided to publish his name to the press, and his name was published in every newspaper in South Africa. Now, Sithole was in hot soup. He knew that his time was running up. He called his brother-in-law and asked for a gun and was like, please, I need a gun for protection. And the rest, brother-in-law was like, okay, cool. You come and meet me in Benoni, in my factory where I work. Come to my workplace, I'll give you the gun. Just come over. And after the call was done, luckily, the brother called the police and informed them about Moses' call, and they're like, okay, fine, we are going to work with us. They decided to send an undercover officer to the factory. Now, his name is Francis Muzevilbo. Francis. Now, his name was Francis, and Francis went as an undercover security guard. On getting to the factory, Moses went there, like, okay, I'm looking for my brother-in-law. Can you please help me call him out? And the other security guards there, who were unaware of the operation, sent Francis. Remember, Francis is the undercover cop. And the cop was like, I can't leave. And those other ones are like, why can't you leave? Now, Moses being smart, because he wasn't an illiterate, Moses being smart, noticed that there was something awkward going on and tried to run. And Francis noticed that Moses was trying to get away. It was a very cinematic view. Francis was pursuing Moses, and Moses used an axe to injure Francis, the police officer. And before he could get away, the police officer shot him twice, and that was how Moses was arrested. They rushed him to the hospital. For 2 days, he was still in the hospital. Now, upon his recovery, they took him to the police station for proper investigation and interview. So, on getting to the station, Moses denied everything, and he told them he wasn't going to send him, not until they send a female officer. And they sent a female officer, and that was when David started confessing all of his crimes. He was charged with 38 counts of murder, but Moses agreed to just 29 and told them he doesn't know where the other 9 came from, that he didn't do anything, doesn't know those other persons and the rest. So the people were like, nah, you are the one, you killed them all. And guess what, guys? He was explaining and taking them to sites of where he buried these ladies. He started confessing on how he kills them. He says he kills them and he strangles them. Now, he uses bare hands most of the times, or uses some of their clothing, be it their panties, their top, their skirts. He uses any part of their clothing. Most of the times he uses belts. At times he uses a shoelace to strangle these ladies. All of his ladies all died out of strangulation. Now, he said he gets his orgasm whenever he sees their eyes bulging out of their eyes when they are trying to die. As he's strangling them, their eyes are bulging out. He said that's where he gets his orgasm. And after which he masturbates on these dead bodies. And all this while he's confessing on the station, Moses is actually touching himself while looking at the female officer. Very creepy. Moses was masturbating. Moses just had a very high sex drive. He just couldn't control it. And the female officer felt like puking, because Moses was just literally outrightly sick. Sick. Completely sick. Imagine confessing to a crime and you're touching yourself. And that was what Moses did. Moses confessed to 29 crimes, but on the 4th of December 1995, he was found guilty He went to court and denied ever confessing. He told the court that the police actually forced him to confess. But the court didn't have any of that. He was charged 2,410 years in prison for 38 counts of murder, 40 counts of rape, and 6 counts of robbery. So in total, he's not eligible for parole for like 935 years. When he's 935 years, that's when he'll be up for parole. Mm. But till now, Moses is not up for any possible parole. So it's currently is at C-Max prison in Boxburg, and this is like the highest prison with the highest security there. He's actually serving his term there. He was even tested for HIV positive and also tested positive for tuberculosis. So imagine all these ladies he raped, imagine the ladies he killed. He was just infecting everybody. This is sick. This is someone that had personality disorder. He had a very charming and cool side, and the other hand, even while married, being with a lady, giving her, making her pregnant and the rest, he was still doing a lot of atrocities outside. This is someone that was raping, that was killing, and he wasn't just killing them with a gun. He was actually using his bare hands to strangle these ladies. What do you think about this story, guys? Because this story gave me a hick. We have to be careful as ladies. Most of the times we feel all that glitters is gold. You might see a very young, charming man, he's very jovial, he's educated, but you never can tell. Please, let's be careful out there. Let's really keep ourselves. Let's not trust anybody. I would like to hear your comments below. Thank you.